Thinking in Bets, Making Smarter Decisions When You Don't Have All the Facts by Annie Duke, book summary in English. Hey everyone, and welcome back to Power Books. If you're here to unlock your full potential and master the art of making smarter choices, then you know that life rarely hands us all the information we need. And that's exactly where today's incredible book comes in. We're diving into a groundbreaking guide that will revolutionize how you approach uncertainty. Thinking in Bets, Making Smarter Decisions When You Don't Have All the Facts by the brilliant Annie Duke. Have you ever looked back at a decision and thought, that was clearly wrong, simply because the outcome wasn't what you hoped for? Or perhaps you've struggled with making big choices when the future feels foggy. Annie Duke, a former World Series of Poker champion, reveals that life is far more like a game of poker than chess. It's about thinking probabilistically, understanding hidden information, and making the best possible bets with the knowledge you do have, rather than waiting for perfect clarity. This book will teach you how to separate the quality of your decision from the quality of its outcome, helping you avoid common cognitive traps, foster intellectual honesty, and cultivate a robust decision-making process that thrives in uncertainty. So, if you're ready to make smarter choices, gain clarity in complexity, and embrace the power of probabilistic thinking, hit that like button, subscribe to Power Books if you haven't already, and let's start thinking in bets. Chapter 1, Life is Poker, Not Chess. In this foundational chapter, Life is Poker, Not Chess, Annie Duke immediately establishes the central metaphor that underpins her approach to decision-making. She argues that while many people instinctively view life as a game of chess, where all information is transparent, every move has a predictable consequence, and a good decision should always lead to a good outcome, this is a fundamentally flawed perspective. Chess is a game of perfect information and determinism. Duke contrasts this with poker, which she posits as a far more accurate analogy for real-life decision-making. In poker, information is incomplete. You don't know your opponent's cards. Chance plays a significant role. The cards you're dealt, the community cards, and outcomes are inherently probabilistic. A skilled poker player understands that a good decision can, through bad luck, still lead to a bad outcome, and conversely, a bad decision can, by sheer fortune, result in a good outcome. This chapter introduces the critical concept of separating the quality of a decision based on the information and probabilities at the time from the quality of its outcome, which includes the influence of luck. By adopting a poker-thinking mindset, Duke sets the stage for how readers can make smarter, more rational choices even when faced with uncertainty and incomplete facts. Key takeaways. 1. Poker versus chess analogy. Duke establishes that real-life decision-making is more like poker, imperfect information, chance, probabilistic outcomes, than chess, perfect information, deterministic outcomes. Separating decision and outcome. A core lesson is the vital distinction between making a good decision based on available information and probabilities and achieving a good outcome, which includes the element of luck. 3. Embracing uncertainty. The chapter highlights that most real-world decisions are made without all the facts, requiring a mindset that can operate effectively amidst ambiguity. Foundation for probabilistic thinking. It lays the groundwork for the entire book by introducing the necessity of thinking in probabilities and evaluating choices based on the quality of the process, not just the result. Chapter 2, The Problem of Resulting. In this crucial chapter, The Problem of Resulting, Annie Duke delves deeply into one of the most pervasive and insidious cognitive biases that hinder effective decision-making, the tendency to judge the quality of a decision solely by its outcome. Building on the previous chapter's poker analogy, she meticulously defines resulting as the human inclination to conflate a good outcome, even if achieved by sheer luck from a poor decision, with a good decision, and conversely, a bad outcome, even if resulting from a sound decision made with the best available information, with a bad decision. Duke explores the psychological roots of this problem, explaining why our brains are wired for resulting. It's often easier and more emotionally satisfying to focus on the result than to engage in the rigorous, often uncomfortable, process of dissecting the decision itself. She likely highlights how resulting distorts our learning process, leading us to reinforce poor strategies that got lucky or abandon effective ones that simply ran into bad luck. This flawed feedback loop prevents genuine improvement, fosters intellectual dishonesty, and can lead to either dangerous overconfidence or debilitating self-doubt. The chapter's core message is to liberate decision-makers from the tyranny of outcomes, urging them to develop the discipline to evaluate decisions based on the probabilities and information available at the moment of choice, rather than the hindsight bias of what actually happened. Key takeaways. 1. Definition of resulting. Duke precisely defines resulting as judging a decision's quality based solely on its outcome, regardless of the decision-making process. 2. Psychological roots. The chapter explains why humans are prone to this bias, touching on cognitive ease, hindsight bias, and emotional connections to results. 3. Harmful consequences. It highlights how resulting distorts learning, reinforces bad habits, stifles growth, and leads to flawed self-assessment. 4. Separating process from outcome. Reinforced. The core message emphasizes the vital need to decouple the quality of the decision-making process from the quality of the outcome to foster true improvement. Chapter 3. Poker Thinking. In this pivotal chapter, Poker Thinking, Annie Duke moves from defining the problem to articulating the solution, laying out the precise mental framework she advocates for making smarter decisions in an uncertain world. Building on the premise that life is like poker, she explains that poker thinking is a mindset rooted in probabilistic reasoning and a fearless acceptance of uncertainty. This involves a conscious shift from thinking in absolutes, it will happen, or it won't happen, to evaluating the likelihood of different outcomes as probabilities. Duke likely details the key components of this thinking style: constantly assessing the likelihood of various scenarios, being comfortable with incomplete information, and framing decisions as bets. Framing a decision as a bet forces an explicit consideration of the probabilities, the stakes involved, and the potential payoffs or losses. This approach inherently encourages updating beliefs as new information emerges, rather than rigidly clinging to initial assumptions. Poker thinking also mandates separating the quality of the decision-making process from the eventual outcome, understanding that a sound decision, based on the best available probabilities, can still lead to an unfavorable result due to the inherent role of luck. The core message is that by consistently applying this probabilistic, process-oriented way of thinking, individuals can significantly improve the long-term quality of their decisions, even when lacking all the facts. Key takeaways. 1. Probabilistic reasoning. Duke introduces poker thinking as a mindset that embraces uncertainty and focuses on evaluating the likelihood of different outcomes rather than seeking false certainty. Thinking in bets. A key technique is framing decisions as bets, forcing a conscious assessment of probability, stakes, and potential payoffs, losses. 3. Belief updating. The chapter emphasizes the importance of continually updating one's beliefs and probabilities as new information becomes available, fostering intellectual flexibility. 4. Process over outcome. Reinforced. Poker thinking inherently prioritizes a robust decision-making process over the immediate outcome, understanding that a good process leads to better results over time. Chapter 4. The Backcasting Exercise. In this practical chapter, the Backcasting Exercise, Annie Duke introduces a powerful, actionable tool designed to directly combat the problem of resulting and improve future decision-making. Backcasting, as Duke presents it, is a systematic method for analyzing past decisions by intentionally stripping away the knowledge of their actual outcomes. The core aim is to honestly reevaluate the quality of a decision based only on the information, beliefs, and probabilities available at the moment the choice was made. Duke likely provides clear, step-by-step instructions for performing this exercise. This might involve recalling a specific past decision, whether it led to a good or bad outcome, then meticulously listing all the facts known at that precise time, all the uncertainties, and all the alternative choices that were considered. Crucially, the exercise compels individuals to assign probabilities to the various potential outcomes as they would have seen them before the event unfolded. By forcing this discipline, Backcasting effectively reduces hindsight bias and helps to genuinely separate the influence of skill from the influence of luck. The chapter demonstrates how regular practice of this exercise trains the brain to assess probabilities more accurately, identify true flaws in the decision-making process, rather than just lamenting unlucky outcomes, and ultimately build a more robust and resilient approach to making future bets with incomplete information. Key takeaways. 1. Practical anti-resulting tool. Duke introduces backcasting as a concrete exercise to combat the bias of judging decisions solely by their outcomes. 2. Reevaluating decisions at the moment of choice. The core of backcasting is to meticulously reconstruct the information and probabilities known before the outcome occurred. 3. Reducing hindsight bias. The exercise actively helps individuals overcome the tendency to believe past events were more predictable than they actually were. Improving probabilistic assessment. Regular backcasting trains the mind to more accurately assign probabilities to future events and learn from the decision process itself, regardless of luck. Chapter 5. The Trouble with Secrets. In this intriguing chapter, The Trouble with Secrets, Annie Duke explores the significant impediments to smart decision-making that arise when we keep our beliefs, reasoning, and decision processes hidden, either from others or even from ourselves. She likely argues that when our underlying assumptions and probabilities remain unarticulated, held as secrets within our own minds, they become incredibly difficult to challenge, evaluate, and ultimately improve. This lack of transparency, often driven by ego protection, fear of being wrong, or cognitive laziness, severely hampers our ability to learn effectively. Duke probably details the detrimental consequences of this secrecy. Without external feedback or the rigorous act of verbalizing our rationale, our inherent biases operate unchecked, reinforcing faulty thinking patterns. We miss out on the opportunity to gain diverse perspectives, receive crucial disconfirming evidence, and benefit from the collective intelligence that could expose flaws in our logic. The chapter would advocate for radical transparency in our decision-making process. By openly articulating our beliefs, assigning explicit probabilities to outcomes, and inviting scrutiny, or at least honest self-reflection, we force clarity, expose assumptions, and create an environment ripe for learning and correction. This shift from secretive, isolated thinking to a more open, accountable approach is presented as essential for consistently making better bets in an uncertain world. Key takeaways. 1. Unarticulated beliefs hinder improvement. Duke argues that keeping our reasoning and assumptions hidden, even from ourselves, makes it impossible to challenge or improve them. 2. Consequences of secrecy. Lack of transparency leads to unchecked biases, stunted learning, missed opportunities for feedback, and poor accountability. 3. The antidote. Transparency and articulation. The chapter advocates for clearly stating our beliefs, probabilities, and reasoning to foster clarity and allow for external scrutiny or rigorous self-correction. 4. Leveraging feedback. By exposing our thinking, we create opportunities for ourselves and others to identify flaws, leading to more robust decision-making. Chapter 6. The Wisdom of the Crowd. In this insightful chapter, The Wisdom of the Crowd, Annie Duke explores how leveraging collective intelligence can significantly enhance decision-making, serving as a powerful antidote to individual biases and the limitations of isolated thinking, as discussed in The Trouble with Secrets. She likely introduces the core concept that, under the right conditions, the aggregated judgment of a diverse group of individuals often proves more accurate and reliable than that of any single expert within that group. Duke would meticulously detail the crucial conditions necessary for the wisdom of the crowd to truly flourish. This includes diversity of opinion, bringing together people with varied perspectives and knowledge, independence, ensuring individuals form their judgments without undue influence from others, and decentralization, drawing on specialized information distributed throughout the group. She probably highlights how violating these conditions can lead to detrimental groupthink, where shared biases amplify rather than cancel out. The chapter would advocate for actively seeking out and aggregating diverse, independent viewpoints for significant decisions, as this process helps to uncover blind spots, challenge assumptions, and provide a more robust probabilistic assessment of potential outcomes. By learning to effectively harness collective intelligence, individuals can make more informed and less biased bets, even when facing complex situations with incomplete information. Key takeaways. 1. Leveraging collective intelligence. Duke explains how the aggregated judgment of diverse groups can often be more accurate than individual expert opinions. 2. Crucial conditions for success. The chapter details the necessity of diversity, independence of thought, and decentralization for the wisdom of the crowd to function effectively. Combating individual bias. By exposing one's own thinking to a variety of independent perspectives, individuals can counteract their personal cognitive biases and blind spots. 4. Structured feedback environments. The core message emphasizes creating or joining environments, like truth-seeking groups, where diverse opinions are encouraged and aggregated to improve decision quality. Chapter 7. The Virtues of Dissent. In this crucial chapter, The Virtues of Dissent, Annie Duke expands on the concept of collective intelligence by focusing specifically on the immense value of constructive disagreement in decision-making. Building on the idea of the wisdom of the crowd, she argues that simply having diverse opinions isn't enough. True insight emerges when those opinions are actively challenged and opposing viewpoints are encouraged, not suppressed. Duke likely highlights that dissent is the most powerful antidote to groupthink, a phenomenon where the desire for harmony and consensus overrides rational consideration of alternatives, leading to disastrous outcomes. The chapter probably details the multifaceted benefits of welcoming dissent. It forces decision-makers to rigorously vet their assumptions, expose potential blind spots, and strengthen their arguments by defending them against critical examination. Even if the dissenting view is not ultimately adopted, the process of engaging with it leads to a more thoroughly considered and robust decision. Duke would emphasize the importance of creating a psychologically safe environment where individuals feel empowered to express unpopular or challenging opinions without fear of ridicule or reprisal. This involves establishing clear norms for respectful debate, focusing critiques on ideas rather than individuals, and actively seeking out disconfirming evidence. By cultivating a culture that values and even rewards healthy dissent, individuals and groups can make significantly smarter bets by ensuring their decisions have withstood the most rigorous intellectual scrutiny. 1. Dissent as an antidote to groupthink. Duke highlights that actively challenging prevailing opinions is crucial for preventing flawed decisions driven by a desire for consensus. Strengthening decisions. The chapter explains how engaging with dissenting viewpoints forces a more thorough vetting of assumptions, exposes blind spots, and ultimately leads to more robust choices. Creating psychological safety. It emphasizes the critical need to foster an environment where individuals feel safe and encouraged to express unpopular or challenging opinions. 4. Truth-seeking through debate. The core message is that valuing and actively incorporating constructive dissent is essential for rigorous intellectual scrutiny and making smarter, more informed decisions in uncertain conditions. Chapter 8. The Ulysses Contract. In this highly practical chapter, The Ulysses Contract, Annie Duke introduces a powerful decision-making tool rooted in the ancient Greek myth of Ulysses, who famously had himself tied to the mast to resist the siren's tempting song. She applies this concept to modern decision-making, explaining that a Ulysses contract is a strategic pre-commitment made by our rational present self to bind or restrict the choices of our potentially irrational future self. This mechanism is crucial because Duke argues our future selves, under the influence of strong emotions, cognitive biases, or momentary impulses, often make decisions contrary to our well-intentioned, long-term interests. Duke likely provides numerous examples of how Ulysses contracts can be implemented in everyday life and professional settings. These might include financial strategies like setting up automatic savings transfers or investment rules, behavioral commitments such as using website blockers to avoid distractions, or crucial decision-making protocols like pre-established stop-loss orders in trading. The chapter emphasizes the importance of designing these contracts to be specific, difficult to reverse, and often involving external accountability to be truly effective. The core message is that by anticipating our own future irrationality and proactively putting safeguards in place, we can prevent self-sabotage, enhance our discipline, and ensure that our actions consistently align with our carefully considered long-term goals, thereby making smarter bets on our future. Key takeaways. 1. Pre-commitment strategy. Duke introduces the Ulysses Contract as a tool where a rational present self binds the choices of a potentially irrational future self. Combating future irrationality. The chapter highlights how these contracts help mitigate impulsive decisions, emotional biases, and lack of discipline that can undermine long-term goals. 3. Practical application. It provides various examples of Ulysses contracts in finance, behavior, and decision-making, e.g. stop-loss orders, automatic savings. Enhancing discipline. The core message is that by designing and implementing these strategic safeguards, individuals can ensure their actions consistently align with their rational intentions, leading to better long-term outcomes. Chapter 9. The Daily Double. In this engaging chapter, The Daily Double, Annie Duke leverages the popular game show element from Jeopardy to illustrate a crucial aspect of professional decision-making: the importance of calibrating our beliefs and explicitly stating our degree of certainty. Just as a contestant on Jeopardy must declare how much they are willing to wager based on their confidence in answering a difficult question, Duke argues that in real life we often make high-stakes bets without truly articulating how confident we are in our underlying beliefs or predictions. Duke likely highlights the common human tendency to state beliefs as absolute certainties, even when they are probabilistic. This all-or-nothing thinking hinders effective decision analysis and can lead to dangerous overconfidence or missed opportunities. The chapter would emphasize the practice of expressing beliefs as probabilities, e.g. I'm 70% sure, rather than I'm sure it will happen. By consistently training ourselves to assess and articulate our degree of confidence, we become better at discerning genuine conviction from mere hope or wishful thinking. This improved calibration allows for more appropriate risk-taking, knowing when to go all in on a strong bet and when to hold back. The core message is that acknowledging and quantifying our uncertainty, far from being a sign of weakness, is a hallmark of sophisticated decision-making, leading to more rational wagers in the face of incomplete information. Key takeaways. 1. Calibrating beliefs. Duke emphasizes the critical importance of assessing and articulating the degree of one's confidence in beliefs and predictions, not just stating them as certainties. 2. Thinking in probabilities. The chapter advocates for expressing beliefs as probabilities, example 70% likely, to improve accuracy in self-assessment and decision-making. 3. Impact on risk-taking. Better calibration allows for more appropriate wagering or risk-taking, knowing when to commit significant resources and when to be more cautious. 4. Sophistication in uncertainty. The core message is that acknowledging and quantifying uncertainty is a sign of sophisticated decision-making, leading to more rational bets over time. Chapter 10. The Best is the Enemy of the Good. In this insightful chapter, The Best is the Enemy of the Good, Annie Duke draws upon the classic aphorism to caution against the perils of perfectionism in decision-making, especially when operating in an uncertain world. She likely argues that in a probabilistic environment, where all the facts are rarely available and luck plays a role, striving for an unattainable, perfect decision can often lead to analysis paralysis, missed opportunities, or choices that are simply too late to be effective. Duke emphasizes that the pursuit of marginal gains in information or certainty can yield diminishing returns, consuming valuable time and resources without significantly improving the decision's quality. The chapter probably highlights the opportunity cost of indecision and endless analysis. Rather than waiting for a mythical state of complete certainty, Duke encourages readers to recognize when they have gathered good enough information to make a robust decision based on their probabilistic assessment. This involves developing a keen sense of when the value of additional data no longer outweighs the cost of delay. The core message is that making smart decisions in uncertainty is not about guaranteeing a perfect outcome, but about making the best possible bet with the information reasonably available and then acting decisively. By embracing the notion that a good and timely decision is often superior to a perfect but delayed one, individuals can overcome the trap of overthinking and execute more effectively in a dynamic world. Key takeaways. 1. Perfectionism's pitfalls. Duke warns against the dangers of analysis paralysis and missed opportunities caused by striving for unattainable perfection in decision-making. 2. Embracing good enough. The chapter emphasizes that in a probabilistic world, the goal is to make the best possible decision with reasonably available information, not to wait for absolute certainty. 3. Value of timeliness. It highlights the importance of recognizing when sufficient information has been gathered and acting decisively, as a timely good decision is often better than a perfect but late one. Optimizing information gathering. The core message is about understanding the diminishing returns of excessive information gathering and trusting a sound decision-making process, even in the face of uncertainty. Chapter 11. Becoming a Bettor. In this concluding and highly actionable chapter, Becoming a Bettor, Annie Duke synthesizes all the powerful concepts introduced throughout the book, providing a comprehensive roadmap for consistently improving one's decision-making in the face of uncertainty. She likely reiterates that becoming a Bettor isn't about eliminating luck or achieving perfect foresight, but about consistently applying the principles of poker thinking to maximize the probability of favorable outcomes over the long term. Duke probably outlines practical habits and strategies for continuous improvement. This includes regularly reviewing past decisions, using techniques like the Backcasting Exercise from Chapter 4 to analyze the decision-making process itself rather than merely the outcome. She would emphasize the importance of explicitly stating beliefs as probabilities, thereby calibrating one's confidence and identifying where assumptions might be flawed. The chapter likely advocates for creating truth-seeking environments, as discussed in The Wisdom of the Crowd and The Virtues of Dissent, by actively seeking out diverse perspectives and even encouraging dissent to rigorously test one's plans. Furthermore, Duke would reinforce the value of Ulysses Contracts from Chapter 8 to protect against future irrationality and the wisdom of acting decisively when information is good enough, rather than chasing elusive perfection. Ultimately, this chapter serves as a motivational call to action, framing continuous self-assessment, intellectual honesty, and the consistent application of these probabilistic tools as the pathway to navigating life's inherent uncertainties with greater confidence and effectiveness. Key takeaways. 1. Synthesizing poker thinking. Duke consolidates all the book's principles, showing how to integrate probabilistic thinking, outcome-independent analysis, and transparency into daily decision-making. Practical improvement habits. The chapter provides actionable strategies such as regular decision reviews, probabilistic articulation of beliefs, and actively seeking diverse perspectives. Continuous self-improvement. It emphasizes that becoming a Bettor is an ongoing journey of learning, calibration, and refining one's approach to uncertainty. 4. Empowering long-term outcomes. The core message is that consistent application of these principles leads to more robust decisions, reduced regret, and ultimately better long-term results in all areas of life. And that brings us to the close of our deep dive into Thinking in Bets, Making Smarter Decisions When You Don't Have All the Facts, by the phenomenal Annie Duke. What a revelation on how to navigate the inherent uncertainty of life. We've learned that life isn't chess, where every move is perfectly clear, but poker, where imperfect information and luck are constant companions. The true power lies in separating the quality of your decision from the quality of its outcome, avoiding the pitfalls of resulting and embracing probabilistic thinking. From the practical backcasting exercise to the power of diverse truth-seeking groups, and even forging Ulysses contracts with your future self, this book provides the essential tools to make smarter choices when you don't have all the answers. If you're ready to transform your decision-making, to think more clearly under pressure, and to consistently make better bets in every area of your life, then Thinking in Bets is an absolute must-read. You can find the link to grab your copy in the description below. Here at PowerBooks, we firmly believe knowledge is not power. The application of knowledge is power. And Annie Duke's Thinking in Bets gives you the precise framework and actionable strategies you need to apply that knowledge and truly enhance your decision-making process. If you found this breakdown valuable and are ready to put these insights into practice, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to PowerBooks, and ring that notification bell so you don't miss our next empowering episode. Keep thinking in bets, embrace the uncertainty, and keep striving for those smarter decisions. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on PowerBooks.